Do you have like some tchotchkes or maybe like some little collectibles or just some stuff that your wife wants to throw up so everybody can see? Then you need a shelf. So let's build a shelf. What's up guys, I'm Tim, this is NuKraft Workshop, and today we're building this really cool shelf. Now this is definitely a beginner friendly project, but that doesn't mean that if you're an intermediate or an advanced woodworker that you need to bail on this video, because you can take my design today and then you can elevate it. You can change it, you can do whatever you want, shorter, smaller, bigger, taller, that's what we kind of say, because you're gonna make it your own. We're going to be using some standard 1x4 material. Actually, it's not 1x4. I'll get over that in a second. But we're going to be using some 1x material from the big box store, and we're going to be using some wooden dowels. Now, as always, I'm going to give you a cut list followed by a tool list. That's going to help you get out in your shop and know exactly what you need ahead of time. You should be able to knock this project out literally in about 45 minutes to an hour at the most. So for our frame, I am using 1x3 material, which is technically 2.5 inches wide. I am going to need 8 pieces. We got a front piece and a back piece that's going to make up our frame. Each one of those pieces are 18 inches. So 8 pieces, 18 inches long. They are mitered. Just like this, because we're going to make basically a picture frame. Your 45-degree miter on either end. We need our 18 inches to the long side of that board. For our 2 shelves, we're going to need 2 components. Those are made from a 1x4. So those are technically 3.5 inches wide. And we are going to need 2 pieces at 24 inches. And then we're going to need 4 pieces of a dowel. I am using 3/4. Use what you have around your shop, but I am going to make those 1 inch wider than my shelving board. So if you're using a 1x6 and your board is 5.5, you need to make your dowels 6.5. If you're using a 1x4 and your shelf is 3.5, make your dowels 1 inch longer so they're 4.5. 4 pieces of dowel. That's it. That's literally everything for your cut list. Boom. Tool list. You're going to need a saw to get everything cut to length as well as everything mitered. If you want, you'll see later, optional step, chamfer in your router, round over, or maybe you just want to leave it as is. You're going to need a Forstner bit, the same exact size as your dowel. If you don't have a Forstner bit, don't worry about it. Use a paddle bit, spade bit, whatever. If you're using a small enough dowel, you can just get away with the standard drill bit. You're going to need your brad nailer, optional as well, and you'll see when we build this. You're going to need some clamps, and you're going to need some wood glue. Let me make sure that's it. I think that's it. You guys ready to get this thing built? So let's go. All right, the first thing I'm doing here is I'm just marking out. I need my 2 shelves, which are going to be made from this at 24 inches each. I'm actually marking them a little bit long because I'm going to clean everything up over at the table saw with my miter gauge. And if you do not have a table saw and miter gauge, all you really need to do is just use your miter saw. Now I need 8 pieces at 18 inches long. I'm going to do the same exact thing here. I'm going to cut them a little bit long, and then when we head over to the table saw, we're going to use our miter gauge to cut them to exact length. Now, our pieces that are going to form our frame are going to be 18 inches to the long end of these 45-degree miters. So I am going to cut one end at 45 degrees and then adjust my stop block to make sure that all 8 of my pieces are exactly the same size. That's going to give us 2 perfectly square pieces to make up our front and our back frame of this assembly. All right, we're back from cutting all of our material. We have 8 pieces with our 45-degree miters on either end. These are going to, of course, come together like this and form our front and back frame. Now, this is an optional step. I'm going to do it because I have the equipment to do so out of my shop, but I am going to run on the outer edge a nice chamfer. I am also going to do on the top I'm gonna do the same thing on the top of the two shelves just to kind of give it a little bit more dimension and kind of dress up the look. Look, if you don't have a router or a router table out in your shop, this step is completely optional. However, down in the description, I'll pop a little link to Jorgensen makes this really cool little chamfer plane. It's, I think, 30 to 35 bucks. Allows you to put you a chamfer or a round over on your material by hand. It is a much cheaper option than going out and buying a router. And if you're not comfortable using a router, this is the way to go. But I'm gonna run over real quick to the router. We're gonna pop a chamfer on all of these pieces that are exposed to the front of our shelf, and then we'll be back and it's time to start drilling out for a couple dowels and getting this thing assembled. So let's go. All right, we're over here at the router table. I have my chamfer bit in here. Once I make this first cut, I'll show you how much I'm taking off. I'm gonna go pretty heavy on this chamfer. I wanna take a pretty good chunk off of these exposed edges. I really want this thing to kind of be dressed up a little bit. So let's get going. All right, so we're back from the router. We've got our material cut to length. I have put a nice decorative chamfer on mine. We've got all of our edge pieces cut at a 45. And for those of you who do not know, whenever you have this 45-degree cut on the edge of your material, this is called a chamfer. If you're not comfortable with a router or you don't own a router, this is what I was telling you about earlier. This is the Jorgensen. This hand plane right here is going to come with some inserts that are going to allow you to do chamfers as well as roundovers. This is a great pickup if you don't own a router. But let me show you the basic premise, sorry about that, the basic premise of how this is going to go together. We are going to have our frame put together like so, and then we are going to run our shelves like this, one there and one here. And the way the shelves are going to set up on here is we're going to install dowels here and here. And once the two frame components come together and the dowels are connecting them, our shelves will simply just rest on the dowels. So now it's time to measure where we're putting our dowels, and let's get those holes drilled. To figure out where we're going to install our dowels to connect our two shelves, we're just going to do the tried and true technique here at NuKraft Workshop, which is we're going to kind of eyeball this. We want to leave enough room in between this bottom shelf and the top shelf to be able to put some stuff on there, but we don't want them too far apart, too close together. And this is where you are going to make it your own, because you're going to look at things differently than I'm going to look at them. What's going to be aesthetically, big word of the day, pleasing is subjective. So you might want your shelves more in the center. I'm gonna want mine a little bit further to the edge. So all I'm gonna do is I'm gonna kind of get an idea where I want this. And then I'm gonna figure out my measurement to this mark right here. So basically we're gonna come down from the top to here, and then I'm gonna copy that here, and I'm gonna copy that coming up from the bottom. So tape measure. Dear Lord, I never have anything. Okay, so if you're buying your material from the big box store, your width is not going to be the same as mine. Just find the center of your width, and then we're going to just make a mark there, and that's going to give us the exact center of each of these boards where we're going to drill our holes for our dowels. And on this second set, we're going to make sure that we drill our holes on the opposite side. The chamfer is going to face out of our shelf. So on our back component, we want that on this face with our chamfer. On our front component, we need those on the back so that when we put this together, our chamfer is facing out on both components. All right, we have everything marked, and now it is time to drill our holes for our dowels. Now, I am using 3/4 inch dowel, so therefore I am using a 3/4 inch Forstner bit. We just need to make sure that our bit, whether it is a Forstner bit or a spade bit, paddle bit, whatever you choose to use and whatever you choose to call it in your part of the country, as long as this diameter and this diameter is the same, we are good. Now, I want to go down into each one of these pieces of material about 1/4 to 1/2 of an inch. And here's a little tip. So if you notice, the depth of this bit is about what I'm thinking I want to go in. So once I go into my material and this black portion of my Forstner bit gets flush with the top of my material like this, I'm going to stop. That's going to assure me that all of my holes are drilled to the same depth. Last tip before we drill, make sure your holes are straight. Nobody wants a crooked hole. Let's go.
That's what she said. Or he said.
No, I stay. I clean.
All right, we have all of our holes drilled, and we just need to make sure that we're using all of our same face up sides with our chamfers, if you chamfered. Second thing, notice this. I've got my ends lined up, but my holes are off. That's because we did not come down directly in the middle of this. So make sure when you're putting this together that you have your two pieces coming together where your holes are lined up properly, because if you don't, you're going to get a little frustrated. So all right, we have these two glued up, ready to go. All that's left is we're going to drop some glue in our holes. We're going to install our dowels. Same thing here. If you are staining this and you don't want your nails to be exposed where you have to putty them up, clamp these two assemblies together. I'm going to brad them in place because, again, I'm painting mine, so I really don't care. And speaking of bradding, real quick, if you've watched my channel before, I've shown you guys this. If you have not watched my channel before, quick tip of the day. Your brad nailer is designed to where when your brad pops out, if there is any bending or blowout, it's going to go left and right. It's not going to go up and down. The way the brads are designed, they're going to shoot this way. So when you are gluing your material and popping it together, never put your brad nailer running parallel, sorry about that, parallel with your material. Always run your brad nailer perpendicular to your material. If your brad blows out, it's going to blow out into your material. If you've got your brad turned this way and it blows out, it's going to come out the side. Not only is that dangerous, it's also going to require more work to pull that brad, putty up that hole, all that. So if you're new to brad nailing, tip of the day. All right, let's get this thing assembled. And again, I am going to glue and brad these dowels in place, but this is pretty self-explanatory. We're just going to put some glue in the bottom of each one of these holes, drop our dowels in there. Once I get this assembled, I will pop some brads to hold it in place. And this little shelving project is already done. All right, this is what we've got. We have our diamond with our dowels that is going to support our shelves. Super easy for you guys, especially beginners. If you are intermediate to advanced, you can do this a million ways and dress this thing up. This is scalable. You take your own measurements. If you want to follow mine, great. Appreciate it. If you want to build this bigger, smaller, whatever, you know, saying here at NuKraft, make it your own. Do it. Then you're going to go right here. And you're going to join our Facebook group. When you do, you're going to share your take on our design. Everybody in there is going to ooh and ah, give you the thumbs up like we always do. And we're going to share tips. We're going to share tricks. We're going to answer each other's questions. We're going to learn. We're going to teach. It's what the whole purpose of the group is. Two more quick things. Down in the description, there's some links. Please click them. It's our way of getting you to support NuKraft Workshop. And finally, like, share, and subscribe to the channel. This video needs one of these, not this. If the thumb goes down, that's not the right one. It's the one where the thumb goes up. That's all I got for you today at NuKraft Workshop. Appreciate you guys, as always, spending 10 or 15 minutes of your day with me, and I will catch you on YouTube.